Hey, everybody, welcome to this week's discussion. A little late this week, but the topic is going to be interesting for anyone who is a celiac or gluten intolerance or has been following the AIP diet for some time. And it's all about, can all foods be reintroduced? So if you're familiar with the AIP or the Autoimmune Protocol diet, you eliminate certain categories of foods or specific foods that you know you are not tolerating. And so it can be very restrictive. It can be all grains, dairy, nuts, seeds, nightshades, anything that tends to be inflammatory foods, okay? Because you want to be able to calm your body down from having inflammation. And then going forward, once everything is calmed down, you try to reintroduce some of those foods and slowly. And if you feel like it's been okay, then you say you've successfully haven't reintroduced that food. And then you go on to another new food and reintroduce it. And I will say flat out, I'm a failure at reintroducing foods because I do not have that patience to do it so slowly. But kudos to anybody who can do it. But what prompted this to me to address this subject is because I had thought I had successfully reintroduced eggs, right? So I have been eating eggs like for many months now because I thought, oh, great, I can eat eggs. I don't have any digestive problems, right? But I just felt like my health was kind of going downhill again, and I could not figure out why. I was constantly congested, not able to breathe well through my nose, and I would be waking up in the middle of the night to my knee aching. I mean, that's inflammation, right? So I thought, okay, I just got to go back to the basics then. And I went back to my test that I had done back in 2015. And these were some food tests that I had done. And I looked at everything, and I re-examined everything again from a different perspective. I'm like, oh, okay, there's 3 different tests here, and they all focus on different things. And so I had to do some research as to what these all meant. And now I understand. So I'm going to explain this to you a little bit and then more in my research that I'll release later. So first of all, we'll address celiacs. If you are a celiac, only celiacs can gluten cross-react to other foods. If you are gluten intolerant or whatever else it might be, you don't have the issue of gluten cross-reactive, okay? I am a celiac, and so one of the tests that I did, right at the top, it says gluten cross-reactive. And I had certain foods on there that I cross-react to, and that just means that my body thinks that this particular food, the protein is close enough to what gluten is that it's going to attack it. It's going to think it's gluten. And guess what? One of those foods was eggs. Yep, eggs. Not necessarily all parts of the egg, but egg for sure. So the point is, with the gluten cross-reactive foods, you can never reintroduce those foods. Never. Okay? Never. And Then it goes down to the next thing that is one of the other tests was autoimmune reactive foods. In other words, these are your triggers for autoimmune or inflammation. Okay? Autoimmune and inflammation. Now, I've tried to get a really good answer about these foods as to whether they can be reintroduced to you or not. And all I got was you have to talk to your doctor about it. So, that's what you got to do. You need to make sure you talk to your doctor about it if you have these tests and you have some of these show up. But the interesting thing is it's a little bit different. Autoimmune reactive foods are foods that are a delayed reaction. Okay. Now, if you noticed, I said it was months that I thought I had reintroduced eggs successfully. But guess what was on my autoimmune reactive foods list? Eggs. The other parts of the eggs. So, eggs are not a food that I can reintroduce. Now, I have stopped eating eggs for the last month. Already, I've seen improvement. I'm not waking up anymore to the knee discomfort. And my sinuses are clearing up much better. So, delayed reaction can be any length of time. It's not an immediate reaction like you have with an allergy, but delayed reaction can be the next day, 2 days later, 3 days later, 4 days later. It could be 1 month, 2 months, many months down the road. And this is where you really, really need to be in tune with your body and how your body reacts to things. Pay attention to how your body reacts. Now, the other thing that I wanted to mention is that gluten can do damage to more than just your intestines. I know the focus is always on the intestines, but gluten can do damage to more than just that. In fact, have you ever felt like you had brain fog? Can't think clearly? Well, there might be a reason for that if you're eating gluten. Brain tissue and gluten have identical amino acids. And so when you eat gluten, your autoimmune system attacks the brain and destroys brain tissue. So there is really, really good reason to not to think that even a little bit can hurt. No, a little bit can hurt. If you absolutely should not be eating gluten, do not be eating gluten. And that means, when you're out in restaurants, you can get it from anywhere. So it's really, really critical to pay attention to what you eat, where you eat, ingredients and things. So in my research, I'll talk a little bit more about the testing that I did and what you may want to do if you're struggling with what to eat and so forth. And I'll recap the things that I talked about just now. So I know it's late in the evening, but hopefully the rest of your evening can be awesome.